Seventh graders, we are working on the last section of chapter 2, comparing and ordering rational numbers. So the goal here is for you to be able to compare fractions and be able to compare decimals and be able to put them in order. So the thing with comparing fractions is that they both have to have the same denominator. They both have to be cut into the same number of pieces. Because someone could say that they ate one piece of pizza and they ate a whole half, okay? Somebody else could say they ate one piece of pizza and they ate 1/4 of the pizza. But until we have them in the same denominator, we don't really know who ate more. Obviously, you do it with this picture, but 1/2 or 1/4, you have to have them in the same denominator in order to tell if they are equal or not. So the quickest way to get them into the same denominator is to actually multiply by the other denominator. So the denominator is your bottom number. I can multiply this, the top and the bottom, by a 10. And you have to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. And this would give me 50/60ths. And then I have to multiply the top and the bottom by this by a 6. So 6 times 7 is 42/60ths. So now they both have the same denominator, and we can just compare the numerator. So who's bigger, 50 or 42? Well, 50 is larger, so the Pac-Man will look like it's eating the 50 over 60. So 5/6 is bigger than 7/10. Okay. So the next, we have 5 and 9. You can multiply the 5 by a 9 over 9 and the 9 by a 5 over 5. I'm multiplying by the opposite denominator. So this would give me a negative 27/45 and a negative 25/45. Okay, so we can see here that 27 is more than 25, but it's negative. So you can think about this one, 27 is colder. So we always want to have the bigger one, the warmer one. So negative 25 is actually bigger than negative 27. It's the opposite when you have negative numbers. So I would love if you guys would pause the video and try to do C and D on your own. I'm going to do them right now, but you should pause and see if you can get the same answer that I do. I'm going to multiply this one by an 8 over 8 and this one by a 9 over 9. And really what you're doing is you're multiplying by a 1. So you're not changing the value of it, you're just changing what it looks like. So 7 times 8 is 56, 9 times 8 is 72, 9 times 5 is 45, 9 times 8 is 72. So who's bigger, 56 or 45? Well, 56 is bigger. Okay, the next one, 5 and the 7. I'm going to multiply this one by a 7 over 7, this one by a 5 over 5. 2 times 7 is 14. 5 times 7 is 35. 3 times 5 is 15. 7 times 5 is 35. But they're negatives. So remember, the bigger the negative, the colder it is. So the 14 is actually bigger. Okay, now comparing decimals, the nice thing is you don't have to do any converting. You just need to look at the decimal places. So you start, the zeros are the same, the 8s are the same, so you go to the next one. So who's bigger, the 4 or the 1? The 4. So we're just comparing those ones. Letter F, the zeros are the same, the 3s are the same, the 4s are the same. Now this one doesn't have a third digit. So some people think that this one's automatically bigger, and that's not the case. you have to add a 0 after the decimal place to get the same number of digits. So who's bigger, 342 or 340? 342 is larger. Okay, again, why don't you guys pause the video, try to do these ones on your own and see if you get the same answers as I do. Who's bigger, 427 or 425? 427 is larger. On this one, who's bigger, 73 or 734? Well, you can't compare until you have the same number of digits. Who's bigger, 730 or 734? 734. Okay, the last type of examples that you guys have here are putting them in order from least to greatest. And sometimes they might say greatest to least, but these ones are both least to greatest. The best way to do this is to get them all into the same form. Get them all into fractions, all into decimals. Most of the time, it's easier to take a fraction and put it into a decimal and then compare them that way. Because if you get them into decimals, then you have to find if you get them into fractions, then you have to find common denominators. So I'm going to take the 4/5, change it to a decimal. 4 divided by 5. 5 does not go into 4, but it goes into 40 9 times. Okay, so we have 0.9, we have 0.93, and we have 0.9. So guess what? We have 4/5 and 0.9 that are the same. And remember that if you don't have another digit, you can add a 0 there. So I knew that those two were smaller than the 0.93. And then 0.93 is your third. Okay. So now we've got two fractions. Again, I still like to take them and put them in decimals. Maybe on this one, I'll use our little trick. So do you see that we can multiply the 3/5 by a 2 and we get 6/10? So I know that one equals 0.6. Then we have 0.77. Then my last one is 1 point something. Do I really even have to go any further? I know that that's going to be bigger because these are less than 1. So I can, and maybe I'll do that little trick again. 1/5 times 2 gives me 2/10. So this is really 1 2/10. So 1.2. So if I put them in order, they actually are in order already. So 3/5, 0.77, and 1 1/5. And there's your answer. Okay, don't worry about doing the book assignment. You guys can just do the corresponding worksheet.